County leaders addressed lingering issues with the new Woodbury County Law Enforcement Center, which opened back in September. At today's meeting of the LEC Authority Board, Shane Albrecht with the project manager Baker Group reported there are lingering soundproofing issues in one of the building's 2 jury rooms. The door that leads to one of the jury rooms isn't hitting its sound seal, which mitigates noise coming into and going out of that room. Albrecht said that Hausman Construction came in February to look at the issue, but only fixed the sound seals on the bottom of the doors. Light can still be seen through the sides of the door.
If you're in the jury room as a juror and somebody's talking in the courtroom, you can hear everything that they say. You should be able to hear noise, but you shouldn't be able to understand it.
Sure.
You can clearly understand everything they say. Right now, I'm saying the door, there's a gap between the seal and the door itself. So without that seal being pushed, the sound can just get right around it.
Albrecht said that if sealing the door doesn't fix the noise issue, they'd need to destructively test the jury room. He said that includes tearing into the jury room walls, which could shut down the room for at least a week. Another issue brought up at the meeting today revolved around the repairs needed for the law enforcement center's roof. A local contractor was put in charge of the roof's installation. During construction, holes developed in the membrane on the top of the roof. The general contractors told the LEC Authority Board that parts of the roof's membrane would be replaced by October 2024. Now, in late March, contractors are back on site and say it'll take about 2 weeks to complete the roof work.
When I would do a lot of walkthroughs, there would be all kinds of loose hardware up on the roof, screws and nails and that type of thing, and you just can't allow a dirty work environment like that with a kind of rubberized membrane, and so it was poking holes that they kept patching. Well, there was too many patches for the manufacturer to deem it a good install, and so we're going to make sure that we're going to get everything that we paid for, and we're going to have a good membrane up there on the roof.
Along with groundskeeping and HVAC issues, the roof repairs are one of 3 punch list items left at the LEC so it can reach final completion.
The Woodbury County